remember that they're changing my voice. Proverbs 30. I am weary, God, but I can prevail. Surely I am a brute, not a man. I do not have human understanding. I have not learned wisdom, nor have I attained to the knowledge of the Holy One. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Whose hands have gathered up the wind? Who has wrapped up the waters in a cloak? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? And what is the name of his son? Surely you know. I always cite the New Living Translation, right? Who holds the wind in his fists? Every word of God is flawless. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him. Do not add to his words, or he will rebuke you and prove you a liar. 2 things I ask of you, Lord, do not refuse me before I die. Keep falsehood and lies far from me. Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise I may have too much and disown you and say, who is the Lord? Or I may become poor and steal and so dishonor the name of my God. Do not slander a servant. Do not slander a servant, okay, to their master, or they will curse you, and you will pay for it. There are those who curse their fathers and do not bless their mothers. The Father in heaven and Jerusalem with God in the sky, not on earth. Those who are pure in their own eyes and yet are not cleansed of their filth. Those whose eyes are ever so haughty, whose glances are so disdainful. Those whose teeth are swords and whose jaws are set with knives, to devour the poor from the earth and the needy from among mankind. The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give, they cry. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say enough. The grave, the barren womb, land which is never satisfied with water, and fire which never says enough. Right? The Lord is a consuming fire, and wickedness burns like a fire. The fire of God causes the wicked to burn, spiritually speaking. The eye that mocks a father, that scorns an aged mother, will be pecked out by the ravens of the valley, and be eaten by the vultures. There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a young woman. This is the way of an adulterous woman. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Under 3 things the earth trembles. Under 4 it cannot bear up. A servant who becomes a king, a godless fool who gets plenty to eat, a contemptible woman who gets married, and a servant who displaces her mistress. 4 things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyraxes are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in crags. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. Now, one of the names of the streets down here is Locust. Another one is Church. See, locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks, right? So what are people doing in the absence of my presence? Are they advancing for righteousness and justice, or for selfishness and chaos and wickedness, like the deity Pan? A lizard can be caught with the hand, yet is found in kings' palaces. There are 3 things that are stately in their stride, 4 that move with stately bearing.
Yeah, exactly.
A lion mighty among the beasts, who retreats before nothing, a strutting rooster, a he-goat, and a king secure against revolts. If you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. For as churning cream produces butter, and as twisting the nose produces blood, so stirring up anger produces strife. So those who have exalted their churches and their minds, they're trying to exalt them, right? They've done wrong. They've insulted God. And they stirred up God's anger. They started a quarrel with God Almighty by exalting themselves when they are not to be exalted. Universal pinpoint and moral precision is the Spirit of God. Not mere talk, not psychology. Universal pinpointed moral precision. Proverbs 31, the last chapter. Went through the whole book of Proverbs here in Santa Cruz. It's the last chapter, verse 31. The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance. Excuse me, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Sorry, not to know it.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance, his mother taught him. Listen, my son. Listen, son of my womb. Listen, my son, the answer to my prayers. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine. Not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and deprive all the oppressed of their rights. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all those who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy. So notice it's saying to the king to defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Why isn't Donald Trump, for example, who's a president, it's not the same as a king? Certainly didn't establish his position in righteousness. No offense to anybody. Why isn't he passing a logical plan to help the homeless? Soon it'll be 4 weeks that I'll have been president. They'll sign all kinds of executive orders. Why aren't executive orders to help the poor on his agenda, his immediate agenda? Why is it taking so long? Does he plan not to do it in general? Okay, the next section, it's the last section of the of Proverbs. Epilogue, the wife of noble character. So notice the last section of Proverbs, which is about understanding the other books of the Bible. And Babylon's referred to as a prostitute, Jerusalem is referred to as a female, okay, what have you. It's called the wife of noble character. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. So it's talking about how God, through wisdom, through the idea of the principles of a city and a submission to God that obeys God, okay, planted the vineyard of the Lord. And God looks for, in Isaiah 5, righteousness and justice, but he saw bloodshed and heard cries of distress instead. And so it is, even here in Santa Cruz, there's the complicity, the spirit of complicity with bloodshed through inaction. One who slackens his work is brother to one who destroys. So there isn't righteousness and justice, right? That's why, and I predicted, I said, if I try to talk to people, I'm not going to get anywhere because they worship the devil, wittingly and otherwise. Like Valentine's Day is Lupercalia, named after Lupicus, who is Pan's equivalent. And Pan is the devil on the tarot card, and a deity of chaos and rape by deception and confusion and ritual abuse. Okay. So where was I here? She selects wool and flax and works with her eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar, all the way from heaven, from God. Horus, he who comes from afar. Horus in his true form is Jesus in his true form, the true Son of God. Because the Egyptians were simply trying to explain the clash between good and evil. How you doing? She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. Again, in Revelation, right? The woman, Revelation 17, Revelation 18, dressed in scarlet, purple and scarlet, because it is the wife of ignoble character instead of the wife of noble character. It can be either a woman, it can be an army, it can be a nation. It's Babylon, right? The wife of ignoble character, and Jerusalem with God, not in this world, the wife of noble character. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Fine linen stands for the righteous acts of the saints. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. I believe it's Isaiah 11, where it says righteousness and faithfulness are the sash and belt. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at days to come. It looks like the fire truck's coming. It's about to be over here anyway. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness, right? The bread of idleness versus the bread of the presence of God. We see it in, it's like Exodus or something, which is the presence of God, because people are doing the works of God. You know them by their works. You know God and who he's working through by the works that are being done. And you know the devil and who he's working through by the works that are being done by the devil. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household, and again does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. So thus ends the last chapter of Proverbs. I went through every chapter of Proverbs, the book of Proverbs in the Bible here in Santa Cruz. And so I'm going to make one more video here, then I'm going to take off